G'day guys and welcome to the video. In this one we're going to be talking about housing and how you can reduce it to get ahead in your savings journey. So housing is one of the big three expenses, the so-called big three, along with transportation and food. So if you can figure out a way to reduce any of these, it's going to help you immensely to get ahead. So in this one we're going to be talking about housing specifically and the term house hacking. Now the concept behind house hacking is nothing new at all. It's been around forever. Basically it was coined, I believe, by Bigger Pockets over in the US and refers to running a share housing operation in order to cut down on your rent or your mortgage. So there's a couple of ways it can work. One way would be for a bunch of mates, say 4 mates, they go and they rent a house for $400 a week and they split the rent, take the 4 rooms and pay $100 each. Another way for a more enterprising individual would be, say, work with that same house, $400 a week. They would take on the whole lease in their name all by themselves. They would then rent out the 3 rooms to whoever, say for $140 each, which comes to $420. So they would then pay the $400 rent, make $420 back, $20 profit, plus live in that 4th room for free. And that's not a bad deal. Another way would be for this same individual to rent out all 4 rooms for $140 each, comes to $560. So they pay the rent for $400, they take $560 back, $160 profit, but then of course they need to find somewhere else to live for themselves. A further spin on this would be basically to do what I've just explained, but instead of renting the house, they would have bought the house, so they have a mortgage. And they can basically use this extra money that they're claiming back every week from renting the rooms out to pay down the mortgage at a faster clip. This could wipe years off your mortgage, or they could use the difference to invest in shares or some other kind of investment if they're not in too much of a hurry to pay down the mortgage, particularly if they've got quite a low interest rate on the mortgage. That could work well as well. So if you're happy to take on the responsibility of running and operating a share house, it is possible to reduce your rent to nil or close to nil and even make a profit. And with housing being one of the biggest expenses for anyone, being able to reduce your housing costs to close to nil will provide a massive boost to your savings. Now, this might not be something that interests everyone, and it might not be something that you want to do forever, but it can provide a real leg up. And if you can hang in there and do it for a couple of years, you'll find that it will really help you get ahead in your financial journey. But there are a couple of things you have to watch out for. It's certainly not always going to be a walk in the park, and there will be times when you definitely are earning your money for the work you're putting in and sometimes the stress that can come out of running a share house. If you're going to be house hacking a rental, you need to be getting the permission of your landlord first. A lot of leases have a condition that disallows lessees from subletting the rental. So you need to talk to your landlord first, get their permission, and then you can go for it. And then you might be thinking, well, why don't I start carving the house up into more rooms? I could turn the big room, the master room, into 2 smaller rooms. I could turn the lounge room into a room. I could turn the garage into a room. I could get 5, 6, 7, 8 rooms cranking and make a pile of cash. Well, it sounds great on the surface, but unfortunately, there are laws on how many rooms you're allowed to rent out to the public before your council will start regarding you as a rooming house operation, which basically means you're then a commercial operation, and there is a whole bunch of red tape that comes along with that. So don't start carving up the rooms unless you're going to go by the book and get certified as a rooming house, and then get all the applicable insurances and everything that goes along with being a certified rooming house. And in Australia, every state has its own definition of at what point you tip over from being a simple share house to becoming a commercialized rooming house operation. So make sure you do your homework and your research depending on what state you're in. But still guys, it's easy to do it on a small scale. You can do this, get a feel for it, make some extra money, but at the same time, you're also providing a legitimate service to the general public. Not everyone wants to rent a whole house for themselves. Not everyone can afford to. For various reasons, a lot of people prefer to just have a share house sort of living arrangement, even if it's only for a temporary time. Rightio, so what about the bills? Well, there's a few options here as well. The easiest way, if you're a bunch of mates sharing the house, is to just split the bills. You know, if there's 4 people, just split it by 4, 25 cents each, and everyone is happy. Well, not all the time. This is straightforward in theory, however it can become a problem if one of the housemates has a bit of a habit of leaving the heater on all day while they're off at work, running up the electricity bill for everyone else. Or who knows, maybe you have a housemate who is running a Bitcoin mining operation from their bedroom. And this is likely to annoy the more frugal members of the household because they're going to be essentially subsidizing this mining operation, but for no profit. Then what if someone leaves? Well, you're going to have to prorata the bills so that the person leaving pays their fair share and the remaining household members aren't lumped with the rest of the bill. Another option that can work well, more so if you're renting the house yourself or if you own the house yourself and then you're subletting out to the general public, is to add an amount on top of the rent that would be all-inclusive of bills. So using our example from earlier, if the room was $140, well, instead of renting it out for $140 plus bills, you would just say $160, so you've added another $20 and the bills will be all-inclusive. This can make things more attractive and indeed more marketable to prospective renters because they know how much they're going to be paying up front and there will be no surprises when the bills come along because they won't be paying them. Of course, the risk here is that if old mate down the hall who might be running the Bitcoin mining operation from his room, well, if this is happening, then it's going to be you as the manager and the chief operator of the house as such who's going to get lumped with the bill. So it can work against you, but it can work quite well as well if you can find a way to manage the cost of your electricity, water, gas, internet, etc. A couple of ways to control these costs would be to have your internet on a fixed plan with unlimited usage, so you only ever pay so much. You could have water tanks and run part of the house on tank water. You can have a solar water heater for your hot water system. And of course you could have solar panels to save on your electricity costs. But obviously a lot of these things only work if you are the owner of the house. You have a lot more flexibility there. The last way I'm going to go through is the most sophisticated way, but it also has a lot of setup. It'll have a decent amount of upfront cost, and it will only work if you're the owner of the house and you are looking to do this long term. So what you can do is have a separate electrical circuit on each room, which each has its own meter. That way you know exactly how much each room is using in electricity. Now, there's also going to be electricity and water for the common areas that will have to be accounted for as well. But the good thing about this method is it takes out all that risk of having an all-inclusive price, and it also incentivizes the individual renting out the room to keep their costs low because it'll be them who are paying the bill. But as I said, there's a lot of setup and cost that goes into this method. It wouldn't be for the beginner. It might be for the more professional share housing operator, maybe for someone who might have an electrician as a mate as well, but I wouldn't recommend it for getting started. Anyway guys, that's all I've got on house hacking and share housing for this vid. It can be a great earner, but it does come with risk as well. There's a whole bunch of other things that we haven't even gone over in this video, such as you know, are you going to charge bond? Are you going to have a lease that you have your tenant sign, or is it going to be more of a gentleman's agreement? What are you going to do if someone causes a bunch of damage and takes off in the middle of the night? Well, these are all the fun things that you might have to deal with from time to time as being a landlord of a house hacking operation. But it won't be all bad. You're going to meet some interesting people probably, you're going to help some people out probably, and you're going to learn some valuable experience while you're at it. Anyway guys, I'd love to hear your opinions and any stories that you might have of your experience with house hacking and share housing. If you want to continue the conversation, and please do, put a comment down below and I'll get back to you there. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. All right, thanks a lot and catch you later.